ॐ श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। ॐ ध्यायामि चिन्मयानन्दं गुरुदेवं महामतिं प्रेमपूर्णं क्रियाशीलं सदा लोकहिते रतं कृपालुं सुन्दराकारं समर्थं सत्यदर्शिनं वाचा तत्त्वप्रकाशिन्या शोकमोहविनाशिनं। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। ॐ नमो नारायणाय। 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 ॐ ऋतगं सत्यं परं ब्रह्म पुरुषं कृष्णपिङ्गलम् ऊर्ध्वरेतं विरूपाक्षं विश्वरूपाय वै नमो नमः। ॐ नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णुः प्रचोदयात्। Hari Om, a very warm welcome to this series. We will begin with the Dhyana Shloka. Om Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं शुभाङ्गं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिहृद्ध्यानगम्यं वन्दे विष्णुं भवभयहरं सर्वलोकैकनाथम्। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। 45. ॐ ऋतुः सुदर्शनः कालः परमेष्ठी परिग्रहः उग्रः संवत्सरो दक्षो विश्रामो विश्वदक्षिणाः dakshinah vistarasthavarasthanuh pramanam bijamavyayam arthonartho mahakosho mahabhogo mahadhanah anirvinnasthavishtho bhurdharmayupo mahamakha nakshatranemirnakshatri kshamah kshamas samihanah. In our previous series, we have completed this shloka. We will take up the next shloka for our study today. Yagna ijyo mahejyascha kratus satram satangatihi sarvadarshi vimuktatma sarvagno jnanamuttamam. Yagna ijyo mahejyascha kratus satram satangatihi sarvadarshi vimuktatma sarvagno jnanamuttamam. Every student, when he is involving himself in the study of any scripture for that matter, the ultimate result what he expects, though unknowingly, probably for some certain material benefits, but the actual purpose of any sadhana is only to gain that, gaining which nothing more remains to be gained. It is a Upanishad Vakya. Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte yena sarvamidam vijñātam bhavati. When the student asks, the teacher is bound, in a manner of saying, the teacher has got the responsibility to indicate the student, point number one, make him understand at what level he is at present. Two, what is the goal he has to reach actually. Many times the student does not know even the goal what he has to reach. He comes with an open mind, he comes with some vague idea, some notion, some prejudiced thoughts. But then the teacher has to make it clear that if at all the student has got such material benefits in the mind, the teacher has to make the student understand. What is that? This is possible. What is possible? Gaining material benefits is possible. Anybody can get it. The highest goal of human life, Atma Jnana, is also possible. Anybody can get that goal also. The difference between the two is the one does not satisfy him, does not make him contented, while the other removes all kinds of requirements for eternity. And then it takes that jiva out of that notion called jivatva bhava and makes the very jiva understand you are tat brahma asi. You are that Brahman alone. To that extent, the teacher is responsible. However, as long as the student is not ready for that, the teacher has to give him all kinds of possible sadhanas up to the level of that student. And from there, the teacher has to come down to the level of the student, understand where he is, and from there, carry him as though like a child. Why do we say like a child? Because the student is unaware of the lofty goal that is being given to every human being. Why? Because of his indulgence, because of his influence in the world of things and beings, and therefore he is oblivious of that supreme goal. Therefore, it becomes very necessary for the teacher to first make him realize where he is and then also inform him. At this level, he can only inform. And what does he inform? These are all goals which you can achieve. And these will not give you that permanent ecstasy. And that the student also in a manner knows. That is why he has come to the teacher. In case the student does not know, then he will be reveling in the things and beings only. Because of the fact that the student has already understood that things and beings can only give me pleasure and ephemeral joy, the student has come to the teacher. If not the jnanam completely, he at least knows that where he is not the place where he has to be. And therefore, he puts forward his efforts, goes tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam. Tadvidhi pranipatena upadekshanti te jnanam. How do you have to gain that? Sevaya. With that thought, when the student has come, now the teacher also understands. What does a teacher understand? That the student is able to see the ephemeral nature of the things and beings, and that is why he has come here. And he also understands that student is not yet matured enough to even imagine the lofty goal for which he has come here. And the teacher also will understand that the student is looking for something. That moksho me bhuyatiti mumukshutvam, that mumukshutva is there in the student. So what is the teacher's role now? To fuel that fire. What is that fire? That fire of desire to know the Supreme. Now when the student has to fuel the fire, how will he do that? The teacher initially gives him the knowledge of something which the student already know and who has gone through for a certain period of time. Because one cannot know the unknown straight away. Therefore, he goes through the known. Having said that, the teacher explains, makes the student understand that you are here, now put forth your steps. The student is scared. Why is the student scared? Because he is scared of falling. He is scared of slips. But the teacher says, doesn't matter. Why doesn't matter? To fall is anyway there, anyway we are falling. And by now you have already used to falling. So don't worry about that. Now I will hold your hand. What is this holding the hand? Holding the mind of the student. Taking control of the mind of the student. And showing the student that now you are under my tutelage, you are under my control, and therefore all you need to do, my dear, is to just obey my orders initially and be alert and vigilant to grasp the knowledge. It might not be very pleasant to listen to this particular statement. A teacher can never teach a student if the student is not prepared. However wonderful the teacher may be, however knowledgeable the teacher may be, however practical experience the teacher may have, he may be a jnani, a jivan mukta also. But a good teacher inspires the student holds him in his beautiful arm. Like how a small child is held by the parents with all care, with all caution, with all alert and vigilant. Why? The child is so small, it can even slip in a small hole. That small hole is sufficient. The gap between the chest and the arm is sufficient for the child to slip away. Why? That small is the child. Similar is the condition of the student. A student who has come to know the ephemeral nature and given up in a manner of saying, and has come to this teacher, is now at the hands of the teacher like the small child. Because of the past experiences and the pleasures enjoyed, any small pleasure can make the student slip away. Therefore, the teacher should be all the more alert and vigilant to watch, to observe, to be cautious and make the student at any given period of time directly under his vision. And therefore, the preparation status, the preparation platform is being set by giving him the basic knowledge. The student must initially start becoming sadhana chatushtaya sampanna adhikari. There are students who have already become adhikari earlier itself. It can be samskaras of the family. Or even if the family is with full samskaras in place, the student can be aloof. Why? Because of his purva samskara, his purva vasana. At the same time, the intelligent boy or girl is given a birth in this particular house, or rather he or she takes a birth in that particular house because of the purva samskaras, so that the samskara can grow there and a path can be shown. Now the student has come to the teacher, may not be prepared or may be prepared. Therefore, having understood the level of evolution in the inner being of the student, the teacher prescribes. And when he has to prescribe, he has to also take into consideration that the teacher's evaluation of the student also may go wrong, because he evaluates initially from the very external behavior, conduct of the student. And while thus observing the student, then he gains the evolutional level of the student, and then from there guides him to grow. And the first guidance of the teacher to the student in the path of growth is to purify the mind, meaning what? Quieten the mind. And therefore, the first nama in the 48th shloka, which happens to be the 445th nama, actually indicates a very, very important factor that can take the student from the earlier ways of life to a completely new gamut of experience. One nama which can show the student a huge expanse of a milkway of what? Of jnanam. And the teacher, while he is giving the knowledge, he makes sure that from then onwards, the student must not look back for some time. Why? The habitual thinking of the student must be completely transformed. The student must no more think of the pleasurable things and beings, and therefore he shows a lofty vision. And seeing that lofty vision, the student is inspired. In that inspiration, the mind, the intellect is so beautifully tuned, and it is also in synchrony with the teacher's mind and intellect. In that beautiful blend of the emotional and the intellectual aspects of both the student and the teacher, the student is able to forget. The student is able to see the limited nature of the habits that he had earlier, and he is able to open up his mind and intellect for newer experience. What is that experience? The experience of becoming eligible. Jnana yogyata siddhyartham. He sits in front of the teacher with an open mind. An open mind is extremely important because if the mind is not open to the teaching, the mind can slip away. 2. Because of the habitual thinking, the mind is well versed in escaping. Earlier also we have mentioned a bell after a particular subject period in the school is to wake up many students who had actually escaped. Think. And suddenly we wake up to see that all those were a dream, all those were not real, they are all impermanent, they are only imagination, a projection of the mind which is completely false. By the time I realize that, the next teacher has come and the journey continues, not with the teacher but with my own imagination. So the student has to prepare himself while sitting in front of the teacher, and the teacher has to hold the student, and in the process he gives certain wonderful techniques. And the techniques are such that it cannot allow and it will not allow the mind of the student to escape. And here is a beautiful Nama of the Lord, who is also called by that very name, which are also the technique. A technique that prepares the student and also takes the students towards that particular goal itself. Therefore, the path and the goal remains the same. But remember, there is a path, there is a goal. And there is a sadhaka, sadhana, the path, and sadhyam, the goal. This triputi continues to be there as long as the knowledge has dawned in the student and make him understand that all that he has experienced, including the Gurukula Vasa, including the teacher, including the scriptures, everything lock, stock and barrel, the whole thing is another imagination. Think. A student may find it very difficult to digest the thought that even the Guru has to be given up, even the scriptures have to be given up. Why? Even that Ishvara has to be given up if he has to understand the Supreme. For which he has to go to that level of understanding to negate the falsified nature of the Guru, the scriptures, Veda and Ishvara. For him to reach that level where he just leaves, he just drops, like how a pole vault is very important for him to rise above all this. But at the same time, once he is there, he must leave the pole, and the pole itself will give him that strength, that energy, that vitality, that knowledge to glide into the other side. Think. And therefore, the preparation must be strong enough. The student must be physically healthy. The student must be emotionally strong. The student must be intellectually ruthless. Think. And this process of evolution, from where the student is to where he has to reach, is also called Yagna. Think. The Nama Yagna. Yagna means the one who is of the nature of Yagna. He is called Yagna. The path is called as Yagna, and Yajaman. Who is Yajaman? The student. Now, the student has to take the first leap, first step in a way. What is the first step? First and foremost, the student must sit in front of the teacher. And to sit in front of the teacher, lot of preparation is required. In fact, let me tell you this. If we can understand this particular word called Yagna properly, we have understood Vedanta. We need not continue also. But please do continue. Right? Now we will see what is Yagna. If I have to understand this Yagna in the right perspective, I need to understand two very important terminologies. I might have said earlier also, but for the benefit of the topic as well as the new students, let me again explain. What are the two words? One is called culture and the other one is called religion. More often than not, these are mixed up, not understanding what is culture and what is religion. We all are very much aware that religion has created havoc in the society. Even now, right at the time while we are speaking, so much of chaos is going on in this wonderful Bharata Punya Bhumi at Kashmir. That latest movie, Kashmir Files, which has put up the actual facts what had happened in the Kashmir, has become a topic of confusion, confrontation, and there is so much of fighting, so much of bloodshed. Why? Problem is not with the religion. Problem is the one who has not understood the religion. In the perspective, it has to be understood. Religion by itself has no problem. Parampuja Gurudev Swami Chinmayanji used to roar at every opportunity he would roar. Shastras have no problem. Shastris are the problem. Shastra is one and the same. Shastra, any Shastra for that matter, be it Sanatana Dharma, be it Bible, be it Quran, or be it any Shastra, it definitely, all of them teaches the path and the goal in its own way. It is we who have to apply that, who have to understand appropriately, rightly, and then have the right contact towards the Shastra and the world. The unfortunate part is that the people who carry the Shastra to the masses don't understand it properly, understand it in halfway, and then when they express it differently to whatever extent they have understood, and the people who listen also listen to it with their own samskaras, and in the process very many times the inner import, the pregnant words of the Shastra, of any religion so-called, gets lost. When the inner import is lost, we will find that the religion no more has the value of what it is supposed to be, but it creates division, it creates confrontation, it creates a situation where only bloodshed we see. Therefore, it is very much important for us to understand the word religion. Because of non-understanding of this word properly, the so-called conversion also takes place, which has again created so much of chaos. Is it not? Where is the reason for conversion when I have understood the truth? Sanatana Dharma, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, what they teach is what even Bible teaches, is what even Quran teaches. Not understanding the import of my own religion, so-called, I fight with the other religion. I say, I am greater, you are lower. I am, what is that? I am Jnanavan, you are Shudra. Blah, 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 blah. All these divisions come only when we neither understand our religion, nor understand the world, nor understand the human mind. Think. Religion has to be understood properly. And to understand the religion properly, culture also has to be understood. Now we will understand this from our perspective. Sanatana Dharma is what we are actually to be called as. The word Hindu does not appear in Veda. It does not appear in the Shastra. In fact, from the technical standpoint, there is no word called Hindu. Then how did Hindus develop? How did Hinduism develop? Why is it so strong? How is it that even after the disappearance of several civilizations in the world, how is that Hinduism is so strong? What is it that which made Hinduism strong? Hindu strong? And does it mean the Islam or the Christianity are weaker? No. Please don't misunderstand. To understand that all are one and the same, the teachings are one and the same, the goal is one and the same, we must first understand Hinduism properly. When we don't have the knowledge of our own religion or culture, we have no rights to talk about others. For which I need to understand. How did all this come from? Those days, the Persians used to come to our Bharata for trade. And when they came, they first settled down in the northern part of Punya Bhumi, Bharata, alongside the Sindhu river, where great Maharishis, great Santa Purushas, Sadhus, all of them were doing tapas and living a marvelous life, a life which is rich in culture, rich in tradition, and rich with knowledge. When they came and observed the lifestyle of these great Mahatmas, they were inspired. They were so inspired, they not only imbibed that particular way of life, and when they went back to Persia, they started talking about the great culture near the Sindhu river. And inspired many more people to come and be amidst such Mahatmas in satsang. The unfortunate part is they could not pronounce Sindhu properly. They pronounce Sindhu as Hindu. Sa were difficult, therefore wherever sa come, they replaced it with ha, and therefore people near the Hindu river became the way of communication there. Like how in South India, in Tamil we say pal, in Kannada we say halu. Tamil we say pappad, in Kannada we say happad. Means the same, but regional differences. The meaning does not change, the product does not change, but the word takes a different form. Similarly came this so-called Hindu, and that particular lifestyle of the great Mahatmas around the Sindhu river were called as Hindus, and Hinduism became the way of communication. It became the way of understanding. And India, even today, as a nation with a rich culture, along with that a great value of tolerance. The word tolerance is highly misunderstood these days. What is a tolerance? Tolerance is I don't change because of an external factor, therefore I have no relevance to that. I remain what I am. So when the Persians said Hindu, our people did not bother. They gave another meaning to it. Hinam dushyati iti Hindu. Some later people gave that meaning. The one who refuses, who rejects Hinam, all that is bad. Lower, baser. Somebody gave an explanation later. But then it was not that meaning. Hinduism developed. The roaring silence of the sages and saints in that particular region became so loud. The silent Mahatmas in their silent seat of meditation could send vibrations all over, and people would get attracted there. More and more people got attracted there. They went, and in search of knowledge, the students used to go there. Thus came this particular relationship of Guru, Shishya, Parampara. And the first teaching of the Mahatmas was to make the student develop good thoughts. His way of thinking, the texture and quality of thoughts have to change to such an extent after which teaching can be done. The mind and intellect of the student must be prepared in such a fashion that the teacher can teach or give him the greatest knowledge of the Vedas. And Vedas, we all know, came directly from Bhagavan. And therefore, if that has to be taught, the student must be absolutely prepared. And therefore, the student was kept there for few years, only making him do karma yoga. And the first step in that is Yagna. What is Yagna? Offerings. In those days, the students had the responsibility of collecting samit from around in the forest. They were all living in the forest, the sannyasis, and they didn't have a urban culture. They always secluded themselves. They lived in ekanta, and from the forest, the students would go pick up certain samit. Samit means dry sticks from the tree. And those dried sticks which are fallen, they would bring it. And with that dried sticks, two things were done. One, cooking for the Guru and the Shishyas. Two, they became the sammit for Homa, Havana, Ityadi, Yagna, Karma. Now the student has to prepare food for the teacher and the number of students, and first serve the teacher, and whatever is remaining, they can share between themselves. In case a teacher was very hungry, let us suppose he ate everything. The student will drink water and sleep, that's all. He cannot question. All those mental attitudes, their way of thinking, all these were beautifully molded by the teacher, and for that molding, for the transformation, the inner transformation to take place, lot of activities were prescribed and guided. Some of the activities were the cleanliness of the ashram, cooking, washing clothes of the guru and the shishyas also. They have to wash they all have to be clean. And at the same time, they also have to be alert. At any moment, the teacher may say, "Come, students, we will start a class." They must just come and sit down and start a class. To that extent, physical fitness, emotional stability, and rational stability also, strength, all these were first developed through what? Karma. Chittasya shuddhayet karma natu vastupalabdhaye. All karmas are for purification of the mind alone. Thus, a quality life were being lived in the near the Sindhu river, and they were taught this particular way of life. This word way of life has become a very common quotable quotes. Any Tom, Dick and Harry says Hinduism is a way of life. He didn't understand what is he talking. What is this way of life? Why is Hinduism called a way of life? Is it really a way of life, or is there something beyond? Is there something behind? And how does this way of life, this particular structure given by the Guru to the Shishya Parampara, this structure, how does that help the student to grow within? And how does that create a culture in that society? Will be our topic tomorrow. Please be present. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om